8 players left championship programs searching for a bigger spotlight. But once the system disappeared, so did the version of them everyone thought was a star. And at number 1, one title-winning guard did not just lose efficiency. Her entire offensive game collapsed.
Prime Field!
Winning a national championship can change how the basketball world sees a player. A productive reserve suddenly looks like a future star. A defensive specialist starts believing she can run an offense. And a player benefiting from elite spacing may assume those open shots will follow her anywhere. This countdown ranks 8 championship players whose production, efficiency, role, or team impact declined after transferring. Not every departure was a mistake. Some players were trapped behind loaded rotations and had every reason to search for minutes. But in other cases, the promise of more shots exposed the exact weaknesses a championship system had been hiding. And before anyone says transfers never work, remember Angel Reese and Lauren Betts. The portal is not the problem, fit is. At number 8, Amari DeBerry left a UConn championship environment where her role had always been limited. She played sporadic depth minutes behind elite post players and never developed a major statistical footprint. The move to Maryland offered the possibility of something completely different, a featured front court role. But that also meant operating without the spacing, playmaking, and defensive attention created by stars such as Paige Bueckers. At UConn, DeBerry could function as a supporting piece. At Maryland, she was expected to help anchor the half-court offense and establish herself physically. This ranking comes with an important qualification. Her UConn opportunity were so limited that the transfer was understandable. But expecting an immediate transformation from depth player to featured post was always a major gamble. Number 7 is Destiny Littleton, whose departure from South Carolina made perfect sense on paper. She had been a veteran reserve during the Gamecocks' 2022 title run, playing behind one of the deepest collections of guards in the country. At USC, the opportunity finally arrived. Littleton started all 21 games and produced 12.8 points, 3.8 rebound, and 3.9 assists per game. But the larger role also placed more pressure on her perimeter shooting. She connected on only 31.6% of her three-point attempts. At South Carolina, missed shots could be erased by elite offensive rebounding and second-chance production. At USC, those misses carried more weight. This was not a disastrous transfer. It was a logical escape from roster congestion. But it also demonstrated that becoming a featured player does not automatically make every part of your game more efficient. At number 6, Inia Russell left South Carolina after winning the 2022 national championship. She'd been a high pedigree reserve with obvious physical talent, but she was stuck behind established veterans. Kentucky gave her the chance to compete for a more important scoring role. Instead, Russell appeared in only 14 games before falling out of the rotation. Her production settled at 3.6 points, 1.4 rebounds, and 1 assist per game. According to the research, inefficient shot selection and defensive awareness prevented her from securing the role she wanted. That is the cruel side of transferring from a championship roster. Sometimes limited minutes are caused by depth. Other times the competition is covering up developmental problems that follow the player to the next program. 3 names in, and the pattern is already clear. More opportunity does not always mean a better basketball situation. The successful transfers usually bring a dominant skill that travels anywhere. Angel Reese brought rebounding, physicality, and motor to LSU. Lauren Betts brought size and paint control to UCLA. The players in this countdown often depended more heavily on spacing, matchup protection, or lineup support. And the top 5 show how quickly the numbers can change when that protection disappears. Number 5 is Alisa Weslech, another member of South Carolina's 2022 championship team. With the Gamecocks, she was a deep bench forward, playing behind elite interior options and some of the best rim protection in the country. At North Florida, Weslech stepped into a part-time starting role and averaged 8.1 points and 3.6 rebounds. She shot 40.8% from the field and 36.2% from 3. Those offensive numbers were respectable. The problem appeared on the other end. At South Carolina, she was rarely left isolated defensively. At North Florida, opponents repeatedly involved her in pick-and-roll actions and tested her lateral movement. This is a reminder that transfer evaluation cannot stop at points per game. Weslech gained production, but the larger role also exposed defensive limitations that an elite championship roster had been able to protect. Courtney Ecmark lands at number 4 after leaving UConn with 2 national championship rings from 2015 and 2016. Under Gino Auriemma, she had been a depth guard receiving restricted developmental minutes. Her offensive opportunities usually came inside a system filled with elite creators, dominant spacing, and favorable matchups. At Arizona State, everything changed. Ecmark started all 68 games of her Sun Devils career, averaged more than 9 points per game, and made 66 three-pointers in one season. But the move also required her to create more of her own offense. Without UConn stars absorbing the primary defensive attention, her lack of lateral quickness and self-creation became much easier to target. Ecmark clearly proved she could contribute as a starter. The debate is whether increased volume actually made her a more effective player, or simply revealed the difference between making open shots and generating quality shots. The top 3 begins with Malaysia Fulwiley, and this may be the most controversial ranking on the list. At South Carolina, Fulwiley averaged 11.7 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2 assists while winning SFA 6 Woman of the Year. She was explosive in transition and perfectly suited for the Gamecocks' up-tempo attack. The expectation was that leaving the 2024 national champions would create a clearer path to starting and greater offensive control. At LSU, she increased her scoring to 14.6 points, while adding 3.5 assists and 3.6 rebounds in 22.8 minutes. But she started only 1 of 35 games. The larger role she appeared to be seeking never fully materialized. LSU's isolation-heavy offense also placed more responsibility on Fulwiley to manufacture individual plays, contributing to 2.4 turnovers per game and magnifying concerns about shot selection, fouling, and defensive consistency. The raw numbers improved. The status did not. Does that make the transfer a failure or proof that her greatest value is always as an elite change-of-pace weapon? At number 2, Jenna Van Gitenbek went from a limited reserve on Stanford's 2021 championship team to the full-time organizer of Baylor's offense. The minutes exploded to 31.9 per game. She averaged 7.4 points and an impressive 5.9 assists. But the efficiency told a more complicated story. Van Gitenbek shot 35.9% from the field and committed 2.82 turnovers per game. She was no longer working quietly inside Tara Vanderveer's structured off-ball system. She was now being asked to operate through high-volume screen-and-roll possessions against primary defenders. Those defenders challenged her ability to create separation and pressured her decision-making. The research points to a 2026 game against Duke in which she was held to 3 points and 0 assists as the clearest example of that vulnerability. Her transfer produced real playmaking numbers, but it also showed the difference between being capable of running an offense and being able to consistently control one against elite defensive pressure. At number 1, Kateri Poole represents the most dramatic version of the championship transfer curse. During LSU's 2023 national championship season, Poole averaged 22 minutes, 4.5 points, 2.4 assists, and 2.6 rebounds. More importantly, she started the final 5 games of the NCAA tournament and became a valuable defensive disruptor during the title run. That postseason role created the image of a guard ready for something bigger. But after transferring to Houston, almost every major number moved in the wrong direction. Poole played only 15.7 minutes per game. Her scoring fell to 3.9 points, while her assists dropped to 1.7 and her rebounding declined to 1.29 per game. Then came the efficiency. 24.2% from the field, and only 14.3% from 3. At LSU, elite interior gravity created space and allowed Poole to impact the game through defense and complementary playmaking. At Houston, she was pushed toward more half-court creation. Her handle, isolation scoring, and shooting could no longer be protected by the structure around her. Poole did not simply fail to become a star, she became less productive in fewer minutes. That is why she is number 1. The lesson is not that championship players should never transfer. Sania Rivers left South Carolina, became a star at NC State, and successfully reached the professional level. Angel Reese found the perfect system at LSU. Lauren Betts found the right personal and tactical fit at UCLA. The real lesson is that role, system, and spacing matter. Winning beside future professionals can make a specialist look ready to become a featured option. But once the double teams disappear, the defensive matchup changes, and every possession runs through you, the game becomes completely different. Did we rank Fulwiley too high? Was Littleton's move actually a success? And which championship transfer belongs on this list next? Like the video, post your ranking in the comments, subscribe for more deep women's college basketball countdowns, and watch our player movement playlist for more transfer stories that change programs and careers.
Prime Field.